Hoyoung is an extremely unique thief that's got just about everything a class could have and or want. Insanely good mobility, stealth, wicked high burst potential, loads of summons. Also the most unique take on a shadow partner type skill through their clones. It's also my main that I play just about daily, so I'd like to at least think I know a bit about them. It's been a while since my initial Hoyoung guide, so rather than make follow-up videos annually, noting all their various changes, I'm just going to redo the whole guide this time around. Let's start with their skills. Beginner skills have some notable things. First, Shapeshift is purely cosmetic and toggles your ears and tail on or off, 10-second cooldown. Spirit Affinity makes your minions have a longer duration, and Fiend Seal is an attack and final damage passive that upgrades through doing job quests, starting at level 30 with Sealing the Fiend's Elenel Fairy Academy, and capping out at level 10 with the completion of Sealing the Fiend's The Final Act 2 at level 200. A little grindy, but very worth it. Get it. Hoyoung's Link skill, Bravado, is great for grinding too, as it lets you hit enemies harder, so long as their health is full. It can also help with one-shotting easier. First Job's got these passives, a basic double flash jump mobility skill with an up jump also tacked onto it, this dash they recently got that also hits enemies it passes through, and also a glide that lets you move in any direction for a few seconds. You can use it once every time you're in the air, and can also chain it into your flash jump any way you see fit. Now it's time to break down this, your Talisman energy gauge. Currently at first, you can only build up the inner circle through using various skills with the Heaven, Earth, or Humanity moniker at the start of their name, like Humanity As You Will fan, which is just a basic mobbing skill. Once charged up, you can then use any skill starting with the word Talisman, starting with Evil Sealing Gourd, which, again, is just a mobbing skill. The first cast of it sucks in enemies, and the second cast spits enemies back out at more enemies. While it can also be used on bosses, you can't suck bosses into the gourd sadly. You can use both parts of gourd on one Talisman gauge charge every time you charge it up. Don't think about the gauge too hard, just remember that cycling around your various skills charges it faster, but most of the time nowadays, that's not too much of a concern. Second Job's got two of your most important skills. First, this new Talisman skill, Clone, makes enemies appear all around the map as you attack, once every 1.5 seconds, attacking various enemies. If you have your skill effects maxed out, sometimes you may think someone's in your map stealing your kills, but I promise, it's not just you, it's just you. Earth Ground Shattering Wave is another attacking skill that sends a wave forward, as well as a clone of yourself. If you hold forward and press wave again, you follow through with where your clone goes and dash forward. After using wave, or any future attack that has a clone/true counterpart, you also get stealthed for a couple seconds through out of sight, which also passively boosts your avoidability. If you dodge an attack that does % health while you're stealthed, your stealth time goes down by 20%, but that's negligible. Ground Shattering Wave is notable in that this is your main bossing skill you'll be spamming throughout most of everything you do. Also, as of very recently, you can now use it while in the air. You also get a few more basic passives, and an attack speed boosting skill you'll want on for everything you do. If you follow through the Hoyoung job questline for a bit into second job, you also get an upgrade to your Nimbus Cloud Glide, making it last longer and fly faster. Third job gives more passives, and an upgrade to your scroll gauge, opening the outer part and letting you now use scroll skills, like Degeneration. It transforms non-boss mobs nearby into various critters and deals some damage. On bosses, this places a boss damage debuff on them for a whole minute, applying not only to your attacks, but your entire party's as well. When you use Talisman skills, it gives more energy directly towards the scroll gauge. You also get a new Talisman skill, Seeking Ghost Flame. It's just a ghostly head that floats around and attacks enemies nearby. Heaven Iron Fangale is your new attack at third, that leaps you into the air and sends a clone flying downward in an arc, smacking a bunch of enemies below. Following through by pressing the skill again alongside forward will send you in said arc and bounce on enemies if you hit them on the way down. Earth Stone Tremor summons rocks all around you, dealing damage to enemies. Holding forward and using it teleports you forward to the end of the rocks. It can also be used in the air, 6-second cooldown. Balanced Breath is a passive that, once you get all three of Heaven, Earth, and Humanity balanced on your gauge, as indicated by these colored orbs surrounding the gauge, you gain some health and mana back. This is also known as Attribute Combo Stage 3, which will come up a lot more in later gauge-related skills. Fourth job gives a bunch of stuff. Some passives, Maple Warrior and Hero's Will, and as far as non-attacks go, Talisman Warp Gate places down a gate at any location in which you so choose. Go elsewhere in the same map, press it again, and you teleport right back to where you initially cast the gate. Stand on said gate and press the skill to teleport back to where you last teleported from. 5-second cooldown in between teleports. And if you wanted to place the gate elsewhere, just build up your talisman gauge again and hold up while pressing the skill key. You also get 2 new scroll skills. Star Vortex places a, vortex right down at your location. Said vortex keeps constantly hitting enemies, which builds up energy, up to 9 total energy. If you press the skill again, the vortex stops and heals you and your party, depending on how much energy you built up. 5% health and mana healed per energy, so 45% healed at max. Clicking down and the skill key places the vortex elsewhere, at no additional scroll energy cost, but also not refreshing its duration. Scroll Butterfly Dream is a buff that makes butterflies come out with your attacks, and also passively boosts Degeneration's damage. 1 second cooldown in between butterfly creations. Lastly, attacks. 1000-ton stone drops you down wherever you are in the air, and rushes you back to the ground. Any enemies hit by it take damage, and also bleed for about 10 seconds. Half a second cooldown, so you can't spam it with any other skills. You can also tap down twice to use it. I believe this is also the fastest descending skill in all of Maple. Heaven Consuming Flames can only be used in the air, and when you do so, it makes a big flame above you, with a clone going up as well, and it also resets your glide and flash jump cooldowns. Holding up for the true portion and clicking the skill again makes you float upwards with the flames. 8-second cooldown. Humanity Gold Banded Cudgel is extremely important, and it only gets more important at later job ranks. For now though, it just does big damage, hits a ton of lines, and also deals more damage when used on bosses. 11-second cooldown. Hyper skills are where you start to get sage skills, starting off with an iframe. Dream of Shangri-La puts you in a scroll, depending on how long you hold the skill key down. You can hold it down for up to 20 seconds, and while in it, you're invincible. 200-second cooldown, with that going down for every 9.3 seconds remaining of the total duration. So if you tap it for a second to quickly avoid danger, it's about roughly a 20-second cooldown. Taiyu Clone is very simply a bind, notable in that it binds enemies and bosses for 11 seconds instead of the usual 10 seconds. 2-minute cooldown. Taiyu's Miracle Tonic is crazy good. When you click it, your gauge maxes out for all its energy, as well as has infinite energy use for the first 3 seconds after using Tonic. Afterwards, it keeps rapidly restoring energy for the remainder of its duration of 9 seconds. 1-minute cooldown. So Hyper Passive's got some nice boosts, starting with all the Harmony ones, which boost all your main direct attacks you'll be using all the time. Empowered and Boss Rush are both great. Piercing is fine for IED purposes if you're low on that, but you get more raw damage from the other two. Moving on, these last 6 have no overarching theme of one skill being boosted, but we'll stick to chunks of 3. Empowered Gourd isn't all that useful as it's a skill that costs gauge, and Gourd isn't that amazing of an attack that you need this upgrade over anything else, so ignore this hyper. Guard-breaking clones and Hasty Ghost Flame, however, are upgrades you'll want over everything else. Clones are strong, and you get more IED than the Harmony variant through this one, especially at the next job rank. As for Ghost, that just makes that wacky little head attack 25% faster. Hell yeah, that's nice. Last 3. Empowered Degeneration bumps its damage up, but it's an energy costing skill that isn't so deeply important damage-wise that you need, so you can skip it. Butterfly Rush arguably is a decent choice for bossing, but kinda gets outclassed by other hyper options. If your IED is high enough, you could choose this over guard-breaking clones, but I'll just stick with what the Hoyoung Discord has written down. Lastly, Hasty Vortex reduces the attack interval for Vortex by 20%. Making any of your summons attack more often is always nice. There's not a huge selection of hypers to swap around between, so here's the layout for everything you do. 5th job gets you closer to godhood. A few more sage skills too. First, I gotta explain 3 Paths Apparition. Passively, when you attack, you get a new extra attack with your clones once every 5 seconds, that attack with an attribute on your gauge that hasn't been used yet. Actively, when you click the skill, that clone attack's cooldown does 2 free hits without a cooldown, and then said cooldown goes down to 2 seconds for the remaining duration of the skill. That's not even the cool part of this skill though. What's cool is while you keep attacking, every time your gauge reaches attribute combo stage 3, it resets your cooldown-centric attacking skills. Namely, and most importantly, Cudgel. So you can spam Cudgel way more often until the skill ends. 20-second duration, 1 minute cooldown. Did you want more clones? Okay, then Clone Rampage has got you covered. Clicking it spawns not only way more clones as you attack with your skills every 1.5 seconds, and ups their duration, but these clones are also pink. 20-second duration, 2-minute cooldown. Tiger of Songyu is a new scroll summon that places a big ol' kitty cat in an area of your choosing for the next 25 seconds, attacking enemies all around it every 3 seconds. If you reach attribute combo stage 3, the attack upgrades to a roar, dealing some more damage. 2-minute cooldown. Wrath of Gods summons gods to attack alongside you for a bit of time. While you attack, they also attack every 1.5 seconds with their various limbs, like fists and feet. They do a ton of damage, and right before its duration of 20 seconds ends, click the skill again, and the gods make their appearance, smacking down all enemies on your screen for a bunch of damage. While they're doing so, you're also invincible. They will only appear if you click the skill a second time. Also when you do so, they give a buff to all your Heaven, Earth, and Humanity attacks for the next 20 seconds. 2-minute cooldown. Shared skills, starting with Anima shared skills. Lotus Flower is essentially an extra life. Click it to place it down, and if you die in the map where you placed it, you'll revive back at the flower and be invincible for a few seconds afterwards. The flower lasts for roughly about a half hour, and if you do revive, the cooldown is reflected upon that, still being about a 25-minute cooldown. If you leave the map or the lotus disappears for any reason besides you reviving inside of it, its cooldown is instead 400 seconds, or about 6 to 7 minutes. This skill is an odd one for sure, especially since it doesn't stack with Bishop's Extra Life, Heaven's Door, Aurelia's Elixir, and such. Greatest Goddess's Blessing changes depending on what race, or even sometimes class, you are. For everyone, it lasts for 40 seconds and has a 2-minute cooldown. For Anima, it also gives some extra damage. Specifically for Hoyoung, it gives extra gauge energy charge while we attack. Kinda not all that useful now that Tonic got super buffed in recent times, but hey, a nice little damage buff at the very least. Shared Thief skills has got to start with Last Resort. Insanely useful buff with 2 stages, and you can immediately go into stage 2 by right-clicking the skill, or holding down and using the skill. Stage 1 gives you some final damage at the cost of avoidability and damage taken for 30 seconds. Stage 2 ups all of those, giving more damage, costing you more avoidability and damage taken, and having the remaining duration. Click it again, and it cancels the buff entirely. Soon enough, they're removing the increased damage and avoidability downsides of Last Resort, so it'll instead just be extra final damage and nothing else. 75-second cooldown at level 1, going down to a 1-minute cooldown at max level. Lastly at 5th, Venom Burst is just an extra poison damage over time. It comes out with your attacks, and clicking the skill spreads said poison to other nearby enemies. In a future update, it instead changes to be a slightly better damage over time, and purely a passive, rather than have any active function at all. 6th job gives some real nice changes for Hoyoung. All of Hoyoung's 5th job skills get boosts at 6th job, but they're strictly just damage upgrades, no new effects on anything. Hexa Masteries, however, change quite a fair bit. Well, at least the first one. Most of the rest are mostly just damage boosts, but Mastery 1 is the most important of Hoyoung's masteries. It not only gives you a massive new passive, but also changes some of your cooldown attacks alongside their damage getting boosted. First, Universal Harmony is the new passive that enhances all your direct attacks, like Heaven, Earth, and Humanity. When you reach attribute combo stage 3 a total of 3 times, which you can see when their icon changes, and also when this new number on your gauge displays a 3, you get a better version of the following skills in the following ways. Consuming Flames makes a flame emblem behind you that lasts 15 seconds, and said flame explodes around you when 3 direct attacks land. Stone Tremor makes a moon appear behind you, staying in place from where you cast it, hitting enemies for a few seconds. And Cudgel releases Goblin Energy, dealing another extra attack for a bunch more damage. You only get to use one of these enhanced skill variants every time Universal Harmony is already charged up. When you use a skill that's been enhanced, you also get a final damage buff for 40 seconds, 30-second cooldown. All the aforementioned skills also get Hexa upgrades, upping their non-enhanced damage as well. Mastery 2 is just damage boosts for Iron Fangale, Ground Shattering Wave, and Humanity As You Will Fan. These also get enhanced boosts if you don't right-click Universal Harmony, so if you wanted maximum damage, yeah, make sure you disable that. Mastery 3 is focused on 2 of your main talisman skills, Clone and Ghosts. Clone just gets extra damage, and Seeking Ghost Flame gets a whole extra ghost that floats around and attacks alongside the other. Lastly, Mastery 4 is purely scroll skills. Star Vortex gets way bigger, covering a much larger area, and Butterfly Dream just gets more damage. Hoyoung's origin is Sage Apotheosis. As far as I know, this is one of, if not the, only origin skill in the game you have to hold down for the full duration to get the most use out of it. So once you start holding it, a big face bites down on your entire screen, and you'll see gods in the background for a few seconds. Afterwards, a mountain appears and blasts the entire screen with even more damage. You're doing damage throughout this entire origin, and you can stop holding it down once you see the mountain appear. Right here. You can tap the skill if you just wanted to quickly get some damage off or make more use of that origin bind, where it then immediately cuts to the mountain once you let go of the skill. But for maximum damage and iframe capabilities, hold it down until the mountain shows up. 6-minute cooldown, just like all other origins. Additionally, you also get Universal Harmony when you cast it. Now let's make Hoyoung easy. Starting off with Momentum, my personal favorite thing about them, and one of their biggest strong points. Double Flash Jump, Glide, and an attacking skill that can also send you upward if you hold up and click it twice that resets your Flash Jumps and Glide while still in the air. This keeps you off the ground for quite a while, and if you wanted even more airtime, you can even still link all of this into Blink if you also have that slotted in your V-Matrix. Iron Fangale is also notable in that it gets you off the ground, even while weakened, which is a debuff that puts you in a state of not being able to use your jump key. Once you are in the air, you can go right back to using any of your other aerial skills. Real useful when you need to get off the ground to move elsewhere and can't normally, like in certain bosses. Additionally, Glide is a great positioning tool, stopping all momentum and going in any direction, but also 1000-ton stone for momentum cancel, and sending you straight down to the ground. Don't underestimate its speed, it's near instant. Attribute Combo Stage 3, those 3 little orbs around your gauge, isn't hard to activate. Just press one of each of your Heaven, Earth, and Humanity skills in any order, corresponding with their respective colors. The top blue orb is Heaven, the bottom left yellow orb is Earth, and the bottom right purple orb is Humanity. Here's the thing though, you can still pop all 3 attributes, even with just using one attack, thanks to the clones summoned by 3 Paths Apparition. It'll still be faster if you cycled around between at least 2 attacks, but it's not a requirement. When you use the active part of 3 Paths, it becomes more important to remember, as tossing in Iron Fangale while Cudgel is on cooldown can usually reset Cudgel immediately, as long as 3 Paths isn't on cooldown, which occurs once every 2 seconds. This part seems really tedious, but you don't have to think about it too hard. Just keep an eye on your Cudgel, and click Iron Fangale if you wanted Cudgel back sooner. You'll get the hang of it eventually. Speaking of your gauge, please right-click Universal Harmony to lock it, so it only gets used by your cooldown attacks. The damage you get from the cooldown-centric skills heavily outweighs the normal ones, and you'll be using the cooldown ones often anyways. Ideally, you'd want to use it for enhanced Cudgel, but Tremor and Flames are both still great compared to Hexagale, Wave, or Fan. For grinding, just place down all your summons around any map, like Vortex covering a few platforms, Ghost and Urda Fountain in another area, Tiger and either Will or Saren skills if you wanted some more coverage, and then attack with whatever attacks you felt like. For the best clear potential, Try to find a map you can stand around the center of, and then use Iron Fangale back and forth. That, paired with your clones and various summons, clears out anything else remaining in the map fairly well. Gale doesn't look like it, but its hitbox just eradicates everything in and around its arc. At 6th job, add either Soul Janus variant of Dawn or Dusk into that whole mix, and you'll practically never have issues clearing out any sized map, ever. For bossing, just spam Earth Wave and Cudgel whenever it comes off cooldown for the meat of your damage. Remember Wrath of God's second attack? As far as damage goes, especially at a built-up 6th job, that second attack becomes optional. Depending on how far along you are, it'll either break even with just you spamming Wave and Cudgel, or get entirely outpaced by it. Yes, even the small damage buff to your attribute attacks doesn't make up for it either. It's entirely optional nowadays. So if you just like the animation, or needed the iframe for it, then keep an eye on it before it expires to pop it. As far as other defenses on Hoyoung go, obviously Dream of Shangri-La is a crazy good iframe, both for single tap if you know exactly when a hit is about to come out and potentially end you, or even holding for a prolonged period of time if you're absolutely afraid of whatever is happening in the boss arena. Stealths from all your attribute attacks except anything with humanity in the title are extremely useful too, for dodging falling projectiles in bosses such as Damien, Darknell, and even Black Mage. As for party play, Hoyoung doesn't have much in the way of party support, besides 2 of their scroll skills. Degeneration's boss damage debuff applies to the whole party, that one's really useful, and Star Vortex heals your party depending on how many hits it dealt, up to 45% of each party member's health and mana. Sequences trivialize Hoyoung's entire burst, and will continue to do so in a near future update, once they allow us to add our attacking summons into the mix. As it stands right now though, as per every other class, you can have one sequence dedicated to your various buffs, like decent skills and attack booster, maybe even Grandest class's equivalent to Echo of Hero, exclusive spell, if you felt so inclined. For your full burst sequence, up every 2 minutes, that'll look a bit like this. Grandest Goddess's Blessing, 3 Paths Apparition, Wrath of Gods, Clone Rampage, AB Link, Last Resort, and then if you had it, an Oz Ring. Preferably Ring of Restraint, the best burst ring for Hoyo. Try to keep AB Link and Last Resort at the end of this sequence for optimizing your damage output. Next, Tonic should be in its own sequence, with its own gauge consuming buffs, which you'll set up and get going before clicking your main burst button and going to town on the boss. Latency can sometimes mess up this Tonic sequence though, like for me, so if you have troubles getting all your skills properly summoned, try stuffing a few skills in between them and Tonic, like Booster, your Decents, or Exclusive spell. For your off burst, up every 1 minute, you can either click your full burst again and use that, or set up an entirely separate button consisting of all the skills from your full burst sequence that have 60-second cooldowns. Link skills, real quick. Grinding, anything that boosts overall damage, and anything that boosts XP and XP related things. Evan, Mercedes, Aran, and Lara are all staples. Everything else can be whatever you have or wanted to use. Bossing, anything boosting boss damage and damage in general. Arc and Mojwans are both great. AB's Link Terms and Conditions is good on every single class, etc. Some layout like this works well enough for me. Resistance Link for 8 seconds of invincibility every time you're reviving bosses, I will never not advocate for. It is super comfortable. Inner ability is also pretty straightforward. For grinding, drop, meso, and normal monster damage, as per usual. For bossing, however, Hoyoung is one of the odd classes out that benefits a bunch from having passives +1 for their first line. It boosts pretty much all your attacks through 4th job's passive, Enlightenment, as well as a few extra stats. That all may conflict with certain Hexamasteries and not apply to them afterwards, but even still, compared to other choices for inner ability, like cooldown skip first line, it still edges them all out, and gives the most damage, as far as current testing goes at least. Anyways, yeah, 2nd and 3rd lines you'll want boss damage, and abnormal status damage. Flat attack and cooldown skip are fine settles too, but that passives +1 is real big. For Trinodes on Hoyoung, they have 9 to choose from, and they'll practically want everything. The only exceptions, or lesser priority Trinodes, being Scroll Degeneration and Talisman Gourd, purely because they don't get Hexa Mastery boosts. But both still have their niche uses for min-maxi purposes, and you'd still be left with 7 tries to boost, which leaves a bit of an awkward gap. Anyways, yeah, there's not really anything to prioritize over others, as they all boost skills you'll be using all the time. Humanity, Earth, and Heaven all share the respective Trinodes, like Heaven's node boosting As You Will Fan and Cudgel, and vice versa for the rest. Clones, Ghost, and Vortex are all important summons that help clean up maps and keep your damage be constant. Butterflies is an outlier that does pretty okay damage while you attack, while Degeneration and Gourd mostly fall to the wayside, with Degeneration's boss damage debuff being the one exception for both. So yeah, aim to boost everything. Hoyoung's burst starts with being buffed up, preferably with a Universal Harmony ready to go if you're at 6th job, and then popping your tonic sequence, getting all your summons out. Place down Tiger, Vortex, Ghost, and pop Degeneration for that 20% extra boss damage debuff, all while you still have Tonic's extra gauge charge going off. Then, you can pop your main burst button. Make sure you cast Cudgel every time it comes off cooldown, and while waiting for it to come back up, spam Earthground Shattering Wave, and sometimes even an Iron Fangale if you wanted it to come back up sooner. Your off burst is kinda identical in nature and actions, just now without all the extra damage from Tiger, Clone Rampage, or Wrath of Gods. When you reach 6th job, you'll want to slot in your Origin either right after you pop your full burst sequence, or before the full burst sequence, right after the boss's first bind timer runs out. For optimal damage, open up with the Origin first, and then follow that up with a normal bind. Don't forget to hold your Origin down. That's it. It's been 4 years of me playing my Hoyoung just about daily, and I'm still not stopping anytime soon. This is by far my favorite class, and it's mostly thanks to how their glide functions. I love this skill so much. Thanks for watching my guide. Thanks to the Hoyoung Discord for finally helping me understand the attribute aspect of the energy gauge much more thoroughly than I did before. And thank you for watching my video. I'm trying to put out videos more frequently, and I think I found a decent enough rhythm to do so with that. So if you got other ideas for things you want to see from me, tell me all about them in the comments. Subscribe if you wanted more from me. Yeah, the usual stuff YouTubers usually say. You get it by now. Until next time, that's all.